I was fortunate enough to have a chance to be on the FaultCast podcast hosted by Falcon Punch and Dark Knight. I wanted to give a big thank you in this video. You guys are about to watch the whole podcast segment unedited. If you guys want to hear more of this podcast, you can find them everywhere podcasts are found: Spotify, iTunes. All the links are going to be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, Michelle, have a wonderful day. Peace. Beautiful Andrew and Doug. Thank you guys so much for having me today.
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, so we're gonna just kind of start off just by asking a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and how did you get the name BritikHD?
Well, that's a really funny story. So my real name is Bright, like bright light, and the thing about that is that I grew up in a Russian household. And in the Russian language, there are pet names. But instead of calling each other Cupcake and Muffin and Sweetie and Honey, we kind of just modify our first names a little bit. And we add like this little ending to it. Okay, so my mom would always call me, my name in Russian sounds like Bright. And she would always call me Britik, okay, because that's like my little pet name. Okay, so she always called me Britik. And it kind of stuck with me, obviously. And I use that as my username. But because I wanted to be edgy as a cool little 11-year-old when I was making my first username, I misspelt it. So I misspelt my name, and it turned out to have the same spelling as you see to this day. And according to the English language, the way you pronounce it is Britik, okay? And so I kind of just stuck with that. I kind of just stuck with Britik. And, here we are today. Everybody calls me Britik. And the reason I have HD at the end of it is because when I first made my YouTube channel back in 2012, it was the cool thing to do at the time. Just like how everyone puts TTV in their names now because of Twitch, you would put HD in your name to say, hey, I make YouTube videos and they are in 1080p high definition.
I'm just gonna start signing podcast at the end of my name.
There you go. Like how people with like high level like med degrees or like lawyer
RN
degrees,
or
they
whatever.
just have all these initials after their name. It's a comma. It's a comma podcaster.
Well, that was a funny thing because I currently, as my current career path, I am in graduate school and I'm getting a degree in biology, a master's degree in biology.
Oh, nice.
And I'm doing that because I am on a pre-medical path. So there's this little running joke that, if I become a doctor, I'll go from BritikHD to BritikMD.
That's fantastic.
I'm just going to have a different brand if that ever happens. I'll just become a doctor vlogger and change the channel, and instead of BritikHD, it's going to be BritikMD.
Or you go for the PhD, Britik PhD.
I'm definitely not getting a PhD. I can bet you my life on that.
Yeah, no, I start some mastering program in the fall, and PhD is like, research is interesting and all, but it's not my thing. Like I can understand it. I can get through a research project and a research paper and read it, but when it comes to wanting to do it, nah, not me.
Well, I'm currently doing it right now, which is why I'm telling you that I don't want to do it for a living, because that's part of my master's. In order to graduate with a master's degree, I have to write a thesis. I have to write basically a 75, 80-page scientific book about what I am researching, and it's terrible because you literally have to write sources after every single sentence.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not having fun at all.
Yeah.
What are you writing on that? What's your thesis on?
It's about multiple sclerosis and probably finding an alternative cure to it. Nothing too important. That's what I tell people.
Yeah,
no, it's not about fault. But that's what I tell people when I'm trying to pick them up on Tinder. The thing is, what I'm really doing is I'm working with a bunch of cells in a petri dish, a bunch of rat brain cells, and I'm treating them with a mushroom. And when I treat them with this mushroom, I'm seeing what the hell happens to the protein concentration. Because we have this fancy $1 million machine in the lab that measures levels of protein that go up and down depending on what you do to your treatments. And so I'm just measuring levels of proteins and seeing if adding this mushroom increases proteins that have to do with regenerating your nervous system, which, for those of you who do not know, your nervous system it was previously believed it did not regenerate whatsoever. It does, just incredibly slowly. Like if you break your arm, you'll be able to use your arm in about a month or so, right? But if you like, sever a nerve connection in your spine, you're probably paralyzed for the rest of your life. So it's pretty interesting stuff because this is supposedly countering the natural way of things. So it's interesting research. It sounds really, really cool. It's a lot of boring, tedious work, but it sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so stemming from that, let's jump back a little bit. And how did you get into the gaming entertainment industry?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm in the industry per se. I'm just the guy who talks in front of a camera and happens to record it. But I got in 2012. Well, actually, it started before then. So my first YouTube video was Minecraft. Okay, as all of us,
Nice.
right? As all of us began our gaming careers, mostly with Pokemon or Mario or Minecraft. And I made a little channel called BritikHD. That was before BritikHD, and I just uploaded Minecraft videos of me and my friends. I was like 13 at the time. And I just uploaded it, and it was terrible quality, and everything about it sucked. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just uploading stuff and having fun with it. And then in 2012, I got my first Elgato capture card, and at the time, I was playing a lot of Call of Duty. I was really good at Call of Duty. I was playing it semi-professionally. I was playing in online game battle tournaments, winning money, stuff like that. And I decided, hey, I'm pretty good at this. I'm rank 1 in League play on Black Ops 2. I should just start making videos. And I did, because I watched a lot of T. Martin. I watched a lot of Ali back in the day when he did Call of Duty. And I watched people like that, Chaos X Silencer. I don't know if these names are ringing any bells for anybody. Maybe they are. Obviously, I watched a lot of competitive Call of Duty as well, esports, so like Optic Nade Shot, for example. I'm wearing a 100 Thieves hat right now. That's why I'm a huge 100 Thieves fan. And I just pressed record on my Elgato setup. I didn't have a tower. I just had a really bad laptop that I got, and I recorded it in my bedroom on my bad TV. I wasn't even playing on a monitor yet, and I just did that. And my very first video is so god awful. The audio on it is so terrible. But that was it. December 31st, the last day of 2012. December 31st, 2012 is when that first video on BritikHD's channel went live. It's still up to this day if you want to go check it out. Just go to my videos, filter oldest to newest. It's the very first one. It's god awful. So I did that, and I made tips and tricks for Black Ops 2 because that's what all the YouTubers I watched did, and I was like, I want to be like them. So I made tips and tricks. I also watched the Syndicate Project, who play a lot of Nazi zombies, and he made guides on that. And then once I got kind of tired of doing Call of Duty guides, I picked up Destiny. I really enjoyed Destiny, so I did the same thing with Destiny and made guides for that, made loot guides, how to find the exotic weapons. I remember one of the first ever videos I made for that game, I made a guide how to find the hand cannon known as the Thorn. I know a lot of people play Destiny, so maybe they've heard of that name before. The Thorn hand cannon is very cool. It was my favorite gun for a really, really long time. And that video actually ended up getting more than 100,000 views. And at the time, it's 2013, 2014, I was not at the same level that I am right now. I was like, I don't know, like maybe 10,000-ish subscribers. And I just made that video and it popped off. I also had a League play video for Call of Duty Black Ops 2 that had over 100,000 views. I had a couple of videos with over 100K. One in about every game that I played, except for Warframe. But regardless, after Destiny happened, then we kind of moved on. There's this weird period where I was trying to figure out what I wanted my channel to be. Yada, yada, yada. Long story short, we landed on Paragon. And Paragon, I found while I was watching a live stream of a dude that I usually watch play CSGO. Because at the time, I played a lot of CSGO. And he was trying out Paragon. He was probably bought by Epic Games to showcase the game, kind of like an ad. And I really thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yo, he was playing Gideon at the time. And I'm like, yo, this guy is throwing giant meteors and he's teleporting. And he's like, this is so cool. And it looks so beautiful. It looks so pretty. I had to get in on this. And literally next day I bought a founders pack and I downloaded on my PS4 and I played Paragon, and I'm like, I love this game already. I'm gonna make guides on it as well because that's what I do with every game I play. And I started making guides, and I started making hero guides, and I started making beast builds with Britik, and that was also really cool. So I showed gameplay. I had videos that gave like gameplay tutorials on how to play the characters efficiently, and then I also had the builds, like the actual like decks that you would build back when deck building was a thing for those heroes, and then kind of explain why I built those decks. And then after that, I just kept doing that for every single hero. I made one for every single hero in the game, and I just kept going. And at one point, I started showing a bit more gameplay, and, you know, just slowly building up my fan base. I never really streamed, though, because, like I said, I played on PS4. I didn't have a streaming PC. My internet was always pretty bad where I lived, and it wasn't until recently that I got a streaming PC where I began streaming consistently, twitch.tv/BritikHD, and I just really, really fell in love with these post-Paragon projects after Paragon shut down. RIP Paragon, only 2 years old when it met its unforeseen demise. Well, it was slightly foreseen, but undeserved demise. And
Absolutely.
now I'm here covering Fault stuff, covering predecessor stuff. Once Paragon shut down, there was a studio called Visionary Games that made Project Phoenix Rising, or they were in the process of making Project Phoenix Rising. So I started off with them, and then after that, all these other things started appearing. You know, you had Core come around by Metabuff, which used to be called Brain Dead Games, I believe, and all the likes. You guys know about all those projects. And now I'm here with Fault, with you guys, seeing how they handle this early access launch on May 8th, 2020.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I mean, just seeing how they handled the holiday week and those early open alphas with the limited resources they had at the time, I'm really excited for early access. I think that it's going to be impressive.
I'm excited to see what they bring to the table and see who all they have out at the time and
Yeah.
how they kind of go forth with their ideas of how, you know, Paragon should be. But
Yeah.
in, you know, I always hate to use Paragon, right? Because
Yeah.
it's an old game, it's a dead game. And it's like you want to move on from it, but at least to us original players, it will always kind of be Paragon.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm excited to see Fault start stepping in, like with Boris came out. I was really excited to see Boris because that was technically, yes, a lot of his assets were still from Paragon and from Epic Games, but his kit was Fault. Like, he was a product of Strange Matter Studios. It's cool to see those unique steps starting to be taken away from Paragon and becoming Fault.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So going back, talking about your experience with Paragon, what was your preference between Legacy or Monolith?
Oh, I actually like both pretty equally. I didn't mind the change to Monolith. I just adapted, you know, get good. But I really do think that Legacy had a special kind of flair to it. But I think it's more than the map. It's not just the map that people are missing when they say they miss Legacy. It's they miss that Paragon feel to it, you know, because when Legacy was around, yeah, things were slower. But it really made you appreciate, for one, the beauty of the game, the design of the game, right? Like when you had Steel's old ultimate and he took his time to go up into the air and slam back down, you could really feel that impact. You knew what was about to happen when you heard Steel jump up into the air, or Grux's smash and grab where he had to wind up for that long cone of his. It was really impactful. It was like you were playing a movie, like a cinematic Nicolas Cage movie that is in a sci-fi universe. It felt like everything felt so good, right? And when it switched over to Monolith, they had to speed things up because that was their goal with Monolith, is they wanted to speed up the gameplay because it wasn't quote-unquote competitive enough, it was too slow, games were taking too long, etc., etc. And so as a result, they had to speed up a lot of the animation. They ended up increasing the overall attack speed on every single character, and so that kind of took away from the aesthetic of the game in order to try and basically do this patchwork, you know, try and fix the leak with some flex tape, flex seal. You know, it just didn't fit. It wasn't built to be that, right?
Well, and I felt like Legacy just had such like scenery to it. I felt like the jungle, like being in the jungle in Legacy, you felt more like you were in a jungle. You weren't in like what the map's telling you is supposed to be the jungle in Monolith. Like you look up, you see like these canopy of leaves, and it had that like darker kind of feel. it just, I don't know, I loved the aesthetic of Legacy.
Oh, for sure. No question. It was absolutely phenomenal. And the jungle felt more like a mazy jungle. Like it was, you were trapped in a jungle, you were trapped in a maze, you had to get out. It wasn't as open as the one that was in Monolith, so that really added to that as well. However, to be honest, I didn't mind the jungle in Monolith because of that openness. I thought it was a little bit better just in terms of gameplay itself, because I come from a competitive standpoint. I've been a competitive gamer my whole life, and I played up in the Diamond Elo brackets in Paragon pretty much the entirety of it, especially once it switched over to Monolith. But what I wanted to say was that I think what people miss the most when they talk about Legacy versus Monolith is Superville. It's Superville leaving the game. Everyone knew him as the father of Paragon. It was his vision, and when he left, the vision changed. You got Cam Winston, and you had all the other people at Epic that just changed it up. You know, some people liked it, a lot of people didn't, and what a lot of people fell in love initially with, they just kind of fell out of touch with it later on after Superville left, and that is totally reasonable. You know, it's like you're dating this girl, and then you know you like her for her qualities and everything. Or if you want to do a more shallow example, let's say you're just dating this girl because you think she's attractive, and that's the only reason you're dating her, right? But then she goes and she gets gauges and she gets a mohawk that's colored green, and you're like, all right, this is not what I signed up for. I'm peacing out. Bye. You know, so that's kind of what happened. Like, people went in with Legacy Paragon and they're like, this game's amazing, this game's fantastic, and then it changed to Monolith and they're like, this is not what I signed up for. What the hell did you do? I'm out of here. Peace. Yep. And that's kind of, I think, where the shift occurs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. See, now Falk was a founder in Paragon, and he introduced it to me, and I joined up kind of in between Bellica and Quang. So I had played the game since then, pretty much. Like, I had like 90 days sunk into that thing or something crazy. And when they switched it from Monolith, man, I still played it because I loved the game, but it was never the same after that, in my opinion. Like, yes, Legacy definitely had its fault. Well, ironically, its faults. No pun intended. Especially when it came to like the harvesters, a lot of the weird metas that they were trying to push at the time. You know, the tank meta was very strong in Legacy. Duncan Prime it was a unique mechanic, but it was definitely, I don't think it needed to be a thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, harvesters were always a point of contention. Like, is this really something that, like, something needs to change with this, right? Yeah. The map was, the movement speed was all over the place. And then they introduced this whole new map, and it was just kind of like, okay, like, I guess we can do this, but.
When I was open to the change with Monolith, I was like, okay, this was something new that's been kind of cool. But then I noticed what they kept doing is they were finding their issues, and instead of trying to fix the problems, they just like, all right, start over, do something new. And that's where they lost a lot of the support and a lot of the people.
Yeah, the game was constantly changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. You came in between Bellica and Quang, so that's still kind of, early. I believe that was still in the Legacy days. So
yep.
You definitely did not miss out on the golden age of Paragon, as some might consider it.
Yeah, it was definitely. See, I never experienced Kalari's like alt that everybody like loves and misses so much. I've always known her to have the teleport. That like corkscrew thing. I've never I've seen gameplay of it.
Man, when that thing landed, it was like, oof, that feels so good.
Yeah,
because it was like a skill shot type thing, wasn't it?
It was a really narrow.
It was the hardest skill shot in the game because it was a very small range and it was very, very skinny, and it also was a little buggy. So sometimes even if you did land it, it just wouldn't register because of like lag or whatever. And so when you did hit it, and because it can go through multiple targets, if you hit on multiple targets, oh dude, that was the sickest thing ever. And you could aim it in the middle of the air. So you could like flip right over somebody's head and aim it straight down and just execute them straight down and look hecka badass doing it. It was nuts.
Made her a lot more of a more skill skill gameplay with her.
Okay, they need to bring that back then. I
Yeah.
need to experience.
Well, I'm okay
this.
with them just keeping Kalari on the bench for a while.
Yo, you calm down.
No, dude, I was
Plastic
very
weed.
excited. I think they did confirm that they're bringing her old ult back because
Yeah.
they realized
Okay.
that Lari is an assassin, and that's what made her an assassin, was that ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's huge too. I mean, the thing we noticed with Strange Matter Studios is just that they're actually taking the fans' opinions into consideration with the game. Like that was
Yeah.
the problem with Epic. So
Right. So I guess while we're on the train of Paragon, did you have a favorite iteration of the game? Like, was there a point where that you like the most? Like, I know a lot of people talk about was V27.
New Dawn or like
Yeah, there's a couple versions that people really really liked. Even in the later version, I think V41 or
It was
right
before
before
V42.
right
V42
before
was
everything
the,
hit the fan.
yeah.
V42 was the beginning of the Dark Ages.
Right. And I
Mhm.
think V41 actually people actually thought that was one of the most balanced versions when the PCL was really high.
Yep.
And they had a lot of views on that. I think it was V41.
I think so.
I think.
Yeah.
It was a while ago, but did you have a favorite version?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer. I played Legacy and I played Monolith at different points in my Paragon career, quote unquote. I thoroughly enjoyed Legacy because of the nostalgia, because that was, what I started playing Paragon on. I got all my friends in on it. We all had a blast playing it and learning it for the first time. The item system was still pretty new at the time, and a lot of things were pretty simple. They remained pretty simple until they ended up just bucking that whole system and then moving on to the cards that didn't have the upgrade slots in them, with the minor, regular, and major enhancements to them that you guys might remember.
Yep.
So I loved it for that, because it was like, this game is fresh, this game is new, this is a new thing I'm making content on, this is a new thing that my friends and I are playing. I just love it because this is kind of like our thing. It's kind of new and fresh. And then when the beta launched, I believe in July, which is when Epic really made their push with their advertisement. They had like a PlayStation Plus pack deal going on. So if you downloaded the game with PlayStation Plus, you had like an extra, skin or whatever the heck it was. I forget what it was at this point. It was something to do with Gadget, I think. But
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. They had her like on the poster of like on the PlayStation Store and stuff.
You got a steel skins.
Steel skin for Facebook group. Like if you like their Facebook page.
It wasn't
Diesel.
It wasn't Diesel. Wasn't it the blue
It
one?
was the Diesel one.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure it was Diesel
It
steel.
was one of the skins. I don't want to argue about it right now. It doesn't matter.
Carbon steel?
Carbon steel.
That's the one.
Carbon steel. Yes, sir. And I just, like on an objective level, I have to say that the inhibitors respawning, I would have preferred if they kept inhibitors respawning a thing, kind of how it is in League of Legends, because I do like that mechanic. But the game did play a little too slow for that, or there's two sides to this coin. Either overall the game was slow, or people just didn't know how to finish games. And it was a little bit of both. Paragon did have moments where, you take your time, but if you were good or you knew what you were doing on Legacy, you could finish games in 25 minutes pretty easily. Like you just had to know when to rotate for objectives. You had to know how to push as a team. You had to know when to get prime. And yeah, that's part of the learning curve. So if you had hours that lasted if you had games that lasted more than an hour, which I know most of us have, it's most likely because somebody was just doing something stupid over and over and over again on one of the other teams, or both teams were doing something stupid over and over and over again. That's usually the truth of the matter. But regardless, I really enjoyed it when inhibitors respawned, and I think if they left that in while V41 was a thing, so we're talking about Monolith with the old item system still.
Yep.
If they just had respawning inhibitors instead of just inhibitors always staying down, I think that might have been the most perfect version of the game at that time. There were a lot of balancing issues, but I'd say my favorite iteration You know, I was already diamond at this point. I made a lot of friends at this point. I was playing with other people who were being competitive in Agora's Rising and then PCL. It would have been V41, you know, Monolith, Paragon. That's probably where I had a lot of fond memories all over the place, but I had a lot of fond memories in that iteration of the game. So I'm going to say V41.
All right.
All right.
Now, a much more simpler question. Favorite hero?
Grux, easy.
Yeah, I was really getting into Grux towards the end there, too.
Grux. Oh, Grux. Okay, so the story how I got into Grux. My first game that I went in and played against people, I played as Howitzer, and I'm like, man, this guy sucks. I'm gonna play someone else. And at the time, he was very underpowered. Okay, this is not the same Howitzer that you know from the PCLs, from TO Mikey.
I remember. Okay,
he was very underpowered. Gideon, on the other hand, was not underpowered. So I went on and I played Gideon, and that was who I made my first guide on was Gideon. If you go back and watch those videos, if you want, if you dare. And I played a lot of Gideon. I played a lot in the lane just to learn the laning mechanics, just to understand like the timing of the minions and when they got to lane and how long it takes to take a tower, typically, all that stuff. And then I realized that, you know, nobody's really jungling around me. And I know what jungling is because I played a little bit of League of Legends. I'm familiar with the term. I only played League like for 2 months beforehand. And this was like 6 or 8 months before Paragon. So like I played League for 2 months, quit for 6 months, and then I played Paragon. So I wasn't super fresh off the League MOBA experience, but I knew what wards were. I knew what laning was. I knew how to push into a tower. I knew what a gank was. You know, I knew the basics. And I realized that nobody was jungling, and there's a whole jungle that was ripe for the taking. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna jungle because that's the position I played in League of Legends. I played jungle. And I chose my very first jungler, which was Grux. And I played him, and I went something crazy with like I don't even remember what the stat line was. It was double-digit amount of kills, and it was like 0 or 1 death or something. And I thought to myself, wow, this guy's really good. This is a really good character. And at the time, I wasn't building him as you typically would build Grux. I was building him attack, damage, crit chance, and lifesteal on Grux.
I loved that build on Grux.
And I was 1v5ing people with it because crit bonus was 2.5 times back then. It wasn't 2 times. It was 2.5 times. So you got Blade of Agora. You got the 250% crit damage once you landed a crit. And so that was what you built. And Grux had a passive that gave him more health per jungle minion that he killed. So he got health naturally just by playing the game. And so you just built a little bit of health on top of that, which it was easy because there were a lot of items in the game that mixed health with power. And then you just went in with that and you built Blade of Agora and you built the lifesteal card and 1v5 city, baby, easy. So that's where I just grinded out Grux and he became my main. He became my favorite.
Didn't his ult multiply his damage too?
Yes, it multiplied it made his auto stronger and it stacked to bleed.
Oh.
Yeah, his double cross or whatever.
Double pain, I think it was called.
Double pain, yeah, bleeding things. Yeah, you had crit chance on top of already enough or a lot of damage, and then you had bleed, and then you had his ultimate, which made him stronger. It's like he was dirty.
Yeah,
and that was back in the days of physical damage and energy damage. Okay, so there wasn't basic damage and ability damage. It was energy and physical. So all you did was build physical, and all your abilities scaled off of that one damage type. So you build physical damage because Grux does physical damage, and that's it. So his autos and his abilities all do insane amounts of damage. Put some crit chance, put some crit damage, and put some lifesteal so you don't die. And you got yourself a recipe for a 1v5 when nobody knows how to stun lock a Grux yet.
Yeah,
absolutely. So getting off the old Paragon train, I guess, and before we get back into Fault, kind of wrapping back around to the life of a streamer. Now, between YouTube and Twitch, those are your main platforms. So you have 2 platforms already. They coincide really well with each other. How has maintaining both of these channels and both of these avenues for your audience affected your overall outlook on like gaming? Has it made gaming more fun for you or less?
Mm, that's a great question. YouTubing and streaming has become an irreplaceable part of my life. I think that's where I should start. I am so used to doing this. I've been doing it for so long. It's kind of just part of my routine at this point. Like, I feel weird if I go too long without making a video. I feel like I would just want to hang out with my friends when I turn the stream on. You know, it's just kind of a way for me to get away from all the real life stuff that I have to do and juggle on a daily basis. And I really like it. It's definitely something that I could see myself doing for a really, 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 really long time. If there is, you know, obviously a financial future in it, which is super important. And I just have to be very honest and blunt about that, because if it doesn't pay the bills, I can't do it full time.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
is that the reality of it.
That's the reality of it. And every day it becomes harder and harder, because now everybody and their mother can stream. You can stream straight off your phone if you want to, okay? It's very,
Same
very
with
easy.
Podcast too.
Yep, true.
And with this new age technology, it's hard to keep up with the new stuff while also sticking true to your roots and sticking true to your guns. Nowadays, you have a lot of this clickbaity stuff where it's like, I'm going to put on this persona and I'm going to do this because this is the trend and everybody else is doing it, and I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to talk in a very over-exaggerated voice and like, hey guys, how you doing? Smash that like button. You know, all that kind of stuff, which that's just not me. I don't like that. And when I do that, I just feel dirty. I don't feel like that's me. I like being as authentic as I possibly can be on stream and in my videos, and I really do believe that's a big factor as for why my fan base enjoys me. And when I get mad on stream, I get mad on stream. When I get upset, I get upset. When I get hyped, I get hyped. I don't over-exaggerate anything whatsoever. I'm a very loud individual, so when I get hyped, yes, I yell into the mic and people complain about ear blasting. Okay, that's just how that goes. All right, and to answer your question, when it comes to gaming, yeah, like when you are trying to put the stream first and put your content first, you do want to play the game that's going to get you more views. You do want to do that, but you also have games that are like your breakaway games where you kind of either just play them off camera or you play them and you stream them, but you don't expect to get any views out of it. You don't expect to get, you know, this isn't like your main thing. It's just kind of like a side thing that maybe some other people who usually watch you might like as well, so you just throw it up on the stream or whatever. I do that quite often. You know, I've been playing Legends of Runeterra, for example, quite a bit lately, so I stream that a little bit. I know some people play that as well, so they like to see how I'm doing in that game, stuff like that. I also play and stream other little games that people might have never heard of, and they come in and they're like, what the hell is this? And then they leave 2 seconds after. You know, it's just stuff like that. Sometimes you got to do that. And those are games that you play for your soul, right? Just for the soul, to make you feel happy, to give you that reprieve. And
Absolutely.
the more you stream, you can stream with 2 different mindsets. You can stream with the mindset of, I'm just going to have fun. I don't care how many viewers I'm going to have. I don't care what we do. We're just going to have a blast. We're just going to have a good time. And there's streams like that. And those streams are great. And you don't feel any different. You just have a camera on. And sometimes people pop into the chat room. You say hi to them. It's just like hanging out with a friend, sitting on the couch playing Halo back in the day, right? You're just sitting there having a good time. And sometimes you stream where you are trying and you are actively thinking about being entertaining, being informative, being someone that's in front of the camera for other people's pleasure, kind of being a show monkey and wanting people to give you those donations or give you those subscriptions or whatever. And I'm very open when I talk about this because I think that's the right way you should be. Like, do I beg for subs? No, I don't. Does it help me in real life? Yes, it does. And there's no denying that whatsoever. Same thing with donations. And I don't think there's a disconnect, to answer your question. There typically isn't a disconnect. Sometimes when you're playing with friends and they want you to just not stream because we're just trying to have like personal conversations or, you know, thing that should just stay between friends, then yeah, you don't stream. You just hang out. Or if you do stream, you just stay muted in the Discord or deafen in the Discord until you need to communicate, and then you do that. So to answer your question, streaming hasn't really affected my gaming life too much. There are games that I tend to prefer nowadays over other games because of the way my schedule works, but I don't think that's because I'm streaming. I think that's just because I'm having less and less time to play video games with every passing year as I become more and more of an adult. You know, before I could play these long RPGs like Final Fantasy, right? I love Final Fantasy X. I put like hundreds and hundreds of hours into that game. Like a year ago, I tried to play Witcher 3 and I couldn't log more than 10 hours into that game because I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to spend so much time in this game. And I get anxious because I spent all this time in this game and I don't have this time to play, spend in this game because I want to play other games because I don't have enough time to play this game that long and play other games because I have real life stuff to do. So that's kind of just where the balance comes from, is I'm just becoming more and more of an adult. I can't just play games all day after school anymore. I have to really, really time manage well. And that's hard as a streamer, as a YouTuber, to time manage when I'm going to upload videos, when I'm going to stream, when I need to go to school, when I need to go to work, when I need to have family time, when I need to have girlfriend time, if I have a girlfriend at that point in time in my life, stuff like that. Because it was in and out, during Paragon, I had a girlfriend, and then Paragon died. I didn't have a girlfriend, but then I had a girlfriend at some other point. So you got to balance that as it comes and goes, and you really have to prioritize the important things in your life. So it's hard, but at the end of the day, streaming did not change my outlook on games, and I still have a lot of fun playing games and streaming.
So what are some of your most rewarding moments, would you say, from streaming, and suppose that disappointing as well?
The most rewarding part of the streams, it's not, it feels nice when you get hosted by a big guy who has a lot of viewers, right? It feels nice to have those big events where you get hundreds of people in your streams. I've had those events where I've had up towards 1,000 viewers in my stream at one point in time. I think this is when V42 was coming out. And there was like a lot of hype around it. And I decided to turn my stream on. There's a lot of satisfaction in that, for sure, but it goes away the next day. You make a clip out of it, you put it on Twitter, everybody looks at it, everyone's like, oh my god, that's so hype, but it just kind of fades. What really is rewarding about streaming is having those people come back to your streams, in almost every streams, like having those individuals that I always appreciate and I always point out in chat. You guys know who you are. The people who come to almost every stream, and when they can't, they apologize for missing a stream. That's how devoted they are. That's how much they support you. And that is the most rewarding thing, is building those connections with those people, knowing that you are, like, not to sound narcissistic, you're not the main part of someone's day. And I never think this, all right? I'm not entitled. I try not to be entitled. I don't think I'm important as a person. Other people think I'm important for some reason. But I just turn on the stream and I can make somebody smile. I can make somebody's day better. And that's super rewarding to me. I've had points in my life, in my streaming career, where I would have people come into my streams and say, hey, I get bullied every day at school. I get shoved in lockers. I get my lunch money taken from me. But I turn your stream on, you make me smile, and I forget about it for a little while. Stuff like that. Stuff like that really just, it puts a new perspective to things. And people think that streaming and YouTubing is about the money. Yeah, you can make a lot of money out of it, but that's like the 0.0001% of the people who make it, right? Right. You cannot do it long term if you don't have a passion for it, and if you don't feel like you're doing something useful or you're not having fun doing it. And I made this point so many times, and I can't help but reiterate this point. Like, for anyone who wants to be a YouTuber or a streamer, you got to do it for yourself first and foremost. You got to do it for having fun and just because you love it. If you're trying to do it for the money, there's so many other ways that you can earn money so much quicker. Why the hell are you doing streaming and YouTubing, right? Like, there's just so many other things you can do. Just, if you're a girl, make an OnlyFans account. Easy money, right? So, like, it doesn't matter. But the point is, which I'm not advocating for, I think everyone should respect themselves. But Britik, makes an OnlyFans account.
Smash like and subscribe.
Smash like and subscribe, hit the follow.
Just nothing but booty pics. From
Yeah, exactly, dude. Just I'm doing squat pics at the gym. But having those people that DM you on Twitter go out of their way and say, you have inspired me to turn on the camera and talk to people, or just in general, you have inspired me to be more confident in myself. You helped me talk to that girl I like at school, or you helped me confront my teacher about a bad grade that I got. Little things like that can go a really, really long way in building somebody's character and helping them in the future. So you never know how you might affect somebody. And the fact that I have a chance to be a positive influence on a lot of people, I really do not take that for granted. And everybody has their downsides. And like I said, I try to be as authentic as possible. So I don't try to hide those downsides. If I get upset, if I start raging, if I get salty, I don't filter it, right? I get salty. Everybody gets upset. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm a negative person. It just means I'm human. And I think that's super important as well, especially in this day and age when there's so much fake going on, to really appreciate and expose. And that's what's most rewarding, is that I could just be myself around people and they come back every day and they just can't wait to see more. And I just love doing that. And that's super awesome. But what I would say is that there's two sides to the coin, right? Just like with everything in life. And that's the most rewarding part. But the most disappointing part, I'd have to say, is just obviously all the hate you get as a streamer, as a YouTuber, for no reason. For no reason at all. It's not because, people hate on you all the time for the stupidest reasons. They disagree with you politically. They disagree with you religiously. They disagree with you, whatever it might be, whatever. They just don't like you. They don't like your face. They just don't like the way you look, right? They just hate you. They look at you and they want to vomit. Like, I have people like that. I have people who come on my videos and comment something negative on every single one of my videos. And I'm like, dude, why are you still here? Why? Just unsubscribe. Like, why are you still? I'm not gonna ban them because it's a free platform, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I love the U.S. for that, right? First Amendment. You can do whatever the hell you want. I'm not gonna ban you. You can do whatever the hell you want. You're just making yourself look like an asshole if you come in on every single stream and talk shit. Like, I'm sorry for swearing, but that's just like, what are you doing with your life? Do something more productive. And that is very disappointing because you just really see like a lot of people that for some reason go out of their way to express their ire towards you. Like, if you don't like something, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Why are you going out of your way to be negative about it and ruin everybody else's mood? Just don't watch. If you don't like me, just don't watch. If you don't like what I do, then block me. I don't care. I'm not going to get offended. That's schoolyard shit. I don't care. I don't care if you block me, whatever. I'm not going to cry about it. My day's going to be better when the negative people leave. Like, it is the internet for you. And when you're on the internet as a public figure, everything's out there. You're airing out all your dirty laundry because everybody wants to know what's going on 100% of the time. And you get judged about everything. You're always judged. Every single thing you do, you have to think about, okay, how am I going to be perceived after this? What can I say? What can I not say? What doors is this statement that I'm about to make going to close, and what doors is it about to open? And that can get stressful. And that really does suck that I have to basically police myself so often. But at the end of the day, if you're trying to be professional, trying to make a future out of it, trying to make a career out of it, you do have to be careful about it. It's like if you want to become a professional somewhere, like an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer, you might not want to get yourself arrested. You might not want to go to jail because that's going to hurt your chances of getting that position. Same thing. You don't want to say something stupid that you didn't even know was stupid, but was deemed stupid 5 seconds ago, and get yourself in trouble. And obviously, I'm not talking about, oh, I didn't know I shouldn't use this homophobic slur. Like, obviously, don't be an asshole. Don't be a homophobe. Don't be a racist. If you're racist, fuck you. Go jump off a bridge. But what I'm saying is you really just have to be careful because you never know who you might upset. You never know how that's going to bite you in the butt. So that's really disappointing. That's the hardest part about being a streamer and YouTuber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are going to start talking about some Fault now. I mean, this is the
Great.
FaultCast, so
Yeah, only like 40 minutes in.
It's all good, man.
Hey, no,
I mean, future. There's definitely a lot of people who, like you said, younger people too, that might be wanting to do some type of content creation, especially with a newer game like Fault.
Absolutely.
So you never know. So it's definitely always really fun, especially for us to get these perspectives and things like that. So
One little note on that before we begin, I always get bad comments in my YouTube videos about my long ass intros. It's like skip to 3 minutes and 20 seconds to begin the video, right? It's like, yeah, I'm here to listen to the Fault news, not hear you talk about this new channel thing that you did. It's like, well, that's kind of part of being a YouTuber.
Well, you are the spotlight of this episode, so we don't mind hearing all about.
Yeah, I'm a blabbermouth. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
You're good.
It's all good. So, what are your first impressions with Fault? I mean, coming from Paragon, and then playing through the holiday access, and now approaching early access, how do you think Strange Matters Studios is handling everything?
Early access May 8th. I just want to make that clear for those of you still wondering. Early access coming out May 8th as it stands right now, before they make any changes to that date. How it stands right now, I'm really excited for May 8th. My first impressions, I made a whole video about this. I even made a part 2 of a video about this 2 months later, kind of how my impressions have changed. But my first impressions about Fault is that it's truly incredible for, what these guys managed to accomplish. You think about the resources they had, you think about the manpower that they had. They only had a couple people working on this, right? Like the amount of time that they managed to do it in as well, because video games, they take a while to make. And the fact that they were able to just basically a year and a half come out with this and be like, okay, here it is, right? In the middle of predecessor, core, ethereal, like who's going to come out? And then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, hi guys, our name's Strange Matter Studios, here's Fault, and you can play it right now in internal testing. It's like, wait, what? It came out of nowhere,
Yep.
and it was like, yeah, so while you guys are busy with all this drama, we were making a game, and here it is. It's like, okay, cool. So we played it, and we're like, wait, this is nuts. And I have to preface this by saying that, of course, everybody and their mother who played this for the first time had that Paragon nostalgia kick in. And so that definitely biases a lot of the objective feedback that you're trying to give, right? Because you're like, Paragon, you're back, yay! It's like the father that went out to get milk and finally came back 17 years later, right? Oh, no. I'm sorry, that might have been a little too close to home for some people, but it's like, yeah, you're back in our lives. I'm not sure how to feel about it, but yay, right? So Fault's here, and we play it, and you don't know what to expect because you don't know who these guys are. They haven't hyped anything up. They're just like, hey, here's our game, play it. And so we play it, and we're like, wait a second. Yeah, this game has bugs, but you can play it. The characters work. The animations work. I can see the damage on the screen. The core gets destroyed. The minions work. They clash at the middle of the lane. The towers work. The towers deal damage. The towers target properly. Everything about the game works. And at first, you're surprised because you don't know what to expect. You don't know what to expect. You're like, okay, well, because in the past, people, as that news guy on all the post-Paragon projects, all the para-zombie projects, as people like to call them, I was that news guy. So everybody and their mother, all these small indie developers were coming up to me and they're like, hey, can you make a video on this? Hey, can you make a video on this? We want you to promote our game, blah, 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 blah. We want you to see it, check it out, talk about it. And there was a lot that I ignored because I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, this is garbage. We're not talking about this. But Fault was just like, oh yeah, hey, here we go. So meanwhile, while I was talking about core and predecessor, they came out. I didn't know what to expect from them because they weren't hyping anything up. They weren't trying to grease me up, right? They weren't trying to cozy me up to their game. They weren't trying to bias me at all. They're just like, hey, play it. And I played it, and I gave my honest opinion, and they took it like champs, bro. Like, I told them what was good. I told them what was bad. I enjoyed the game in general. I thought, obviously it needs some polishing. The code needs some work. You need the you need this to work. You need this to work. There was like a couple specific things that I pointed out at the time. And they all said, yes, 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 thank you so much for your feedback. We will get right on it. And they took not only my feedback, right? They didn't just listen to the loudest voice, which I assume I was at the time. And I'm honestly trying to be as humble as I possibly can be. I'm just talking objectively, numbers speaking, reach, you know, impressions, all that. I'm assuming I was the largest voice, at least when it came to YouTubers, maybe not pro players. And I told him, I'm like, hey, what's going on? This big guy didn't actually influence the game all by himself, and they talked to other people too, and they helped influence the game. And because you saw, like, some things I talked about were changed, but in different ways. Maybe somebody else changed them, somebody else gave some feedback and they changed it in that kind of way. And so that's what really stood out to me, and my favorite part about it, because the Strange Matter Studios team, they realized that if they want to make a game that's popular with the players, they need to ask the players, right? It makes the most sense. They need to ask the players, and they don't just need to ask the average Joe that's going to hop on once a week after work. They need to ask the players first and foremost. They need to ask a lot of players from a lot of different skill gaps and experiences, but they need to focus on the players that play their game the most, which makes sense, right? Like, you have these people who play your game more often than anybody else. Why not ask them for advice on what they like and what they don't like, and maybe make some changes that everyone can be happy with that will trickle down to the people who don't play as often? And that approach really, really vibes with me. I really enjoy that. And as first impressions, I think this is going to at least make it an early access. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx anything. I don't think anything super crazy miraculous is going to happen anytime soon. I don't think this game is going to become a giant AAA threat type game. It's not going to be the next League of Legends. I'm being flat out honest with everybody right now. Maybe this is not what people want to hear. I don't think it's going to be that. But will it fill the Paragon void? Absolutely. It already has for me anyways. It already feels enough like Paragon. They just need some polishing and needs that oomph, right? Like in Paragon, when you hit somebody and the screen shook a little bit and you had those sound effects, you really felt the impact of that. You felt the impact of Steel just landing an ult. You felt the impact of FaZe ultimate just dragging people back in. You heard the dragging of the branches of the vines. You heard the vines kind of snapping a little bit. You know, little details like that. They need to optimize for sure. But what they have told us right now in the Discord, what they have said so far about the progress they plan on making, about what they want to do before this early access launches, it excites me. I can't wait to see what they do. And again, at the same time, the beautiful part about it all is I still don't know what to expect. I still don't know what they're going to cook up. I still don't know how big this change is going to be. And so we just have to wait and see until May 8th. And another thing is that one little thing for the console players out there, they are very serious about bringing it to console. And they plan on bringing it to console as fast as they possibly can after they launch the game on PC and make sure the game works on PC. And I think that is just really awesome because they're pretty much just checking off all the boxes in the correct order, it seems to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for them is just getting past Sony barriers and all that. But I got no doubt in my mind that they're going to be able to do that. I mean, in my opinion, just from an outsider's perspective, is that they have all the right chess pieces on the right parts of the board. They got some really good coding people. They're using the Indiegogo money to hire people that they don't have the skills for necessarily, or that they just are willing to outsource.
Also, a game that came out of nowhere. They threw up this holiday week thing and they started the Indiegogo and they make 80 grand. Like, that was impressive.
It just goes to show you the support that's going to be behind this game. Like, especially once you get that the PS4 community involved into this as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you get that platform out there. I think the sky's the limit then at that point.
I agree.
And especially with when we talked with Ryan and Omni and Fresher, Ryan is going to be really pushing for that, the competitive aspect of it, which is something that they tried to with Paragon, but unfortunately it was just the game was in such a poor state that they never had the right opportunity.
They never had one balanced version to where they were comfortable enough having a competitive scene, because there was always something that needed to be tweaked or changed.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, with that in mind, Britik, in your opinion, what do you think is going to be most important for the guys at Strange Matters to really focus on and to really improve upon?
Like I said, optimize the game so that it feels it's never going to feel like Paragon. I want to make this point very clear. Okay, Epic Games was a AAA studio, and the level of polish that they're capable of making a game like Paragon, Strange Matter Studios at this moment in time is just physically incapable of doing that. And that is no slight to the members. They can be as talented as they want, but without the monetary resources, it is very difficult to realistically get it down to the same level that Epic had it. And I know that sucks to hear, but at least in the near future, that's how it's going to be. So they need to optimize it as much as they possibly can to try and make it feel as much as Paragon again. I think that's the most important thing that they need to do. The second most important thing that they need to do, in my opinion, is once they have optimized it, once the game works fluidly, once all the animations work, once all the graphics are set, you have all this, all the HUD updates in place, you have the scoreboard updates and the minimap updates, whatever you want to do, all of that's set in stone. You don't plan on changing it anymore for a really long time, at least. After that, you need to focus on implementing a ranked mode. And you need to focus on driving up that competitive base. Because MOBAs are very, very, very competitive game modes, game genres in general. They are driven by the competitive scene. The patches and balances are driven by competitive play. And it trickles down to the players because the way it works, the appeal of MOBAs is that everybody wants to be at the top. Everyone wants to be like the coolest players, like the best players that are playing in these tournaments, that are playing in the master rank or whatever you want to call it. Excuse me. And when you have that interest from your big old player base that they're not the pros, they're not the top 1%, but they want to get good because they see all these pro quote-unquote players streaming. They see all these big YouTubers or streamers that are in Diamond or Master streaming, and they're like, I want to be like them. I'm going to keep playing this game. They're going to play the game longer. They're most likely going to be buying skins and supporting the game monetarily. So that's the strategy from the company's standpoint. And obviously, from the consumer standpoint, it's great for everyone. When there's competition, it just makes for such more intense games. And yeah, like with competition comes toxicity. Unfortunately, you cannot escape from that. If you don't want toxicity, you want to play around, you want to jungle Narbash, you can go into a casual ladder, you can go into a casual playlist. But for those who want to sweat and they want to try out all the meta builds and try and be the best, then you have a separate playlist, ranked playlist. And that has just been proven time and time and time again as just this formula that works. You can look at any game that's out on the market right now. You can look at any game that is viable in the Twitch space, that's viable in the streaming space, except right now, I guess, in an example of a game that doesn't really rely on a competitive scene that's popular on Twitch right now is Escape from Tarkov. But the drive to become great draws viewers, it draws an audience, it gives the player an allegiance to the game, an allegiance to some of the players, and just makes them stick around longer, and it just makes the game more fun in general and just livelier. So I think those are the top two things that they need to do. After that, more skins, original characters. I really can't wait to see what kind of original characters they can come up with, but I made a video on this. It's very expensive. It's very, very expensive to make one character from scratch in a video game. It costs a couple $1,000,000 in the Unreal Engine to make a full-fledged, all the manpower behind it, and then the resources that you need. It's pretty nuts. It's very, very, very expensive. The Epic released like a couple $100 million worth of assets when they initially released the Paragon assets. I forget the actual exact number as of right now, but it
was only like 17.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 30.
Is 17? Is it 17? 30 million? Okay. So not 100 of millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Still, regardless, it's not like in the reach of.
Yeah.
They didn't even release everything either.
Yeah.
Right?
No, they just
didn't.
the models and the animations.
Yeah, that they didn't release the coding. They didn't release the audio. All that stuff takes money. All that stuff takes time. So it definitely gets up there. So if a character, I don't expect them to make $1 million characters. Even making a $100,000 character is difficult, right? As an indie studio.
Yep.
So you really have to Yeah, you really have to just get that money in your pocket first. So that's why I'm not so worried about them making original characters as much as other people are. I'd rather them just get all the characters we had. Paragon had plenty of characters. I don't think we need any more. You can make a viable ranked playlist out of those, especially if you balance well. And then you have a ranked playlist that will keep people satiated for a while. And you just come out with skins once in a while, and then you come out with, maybe you just come out with one character in one whole year. Maybe that's how long it takes. Maybe you come out with 2 new characters. I remember when League of Legends was first starting out, they were super slow with that, right? So every game has to start off slow. You can't just wake up and boom, you're the next league. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Exactly. One last quick little thing that I thought about for Fault before we kind of wrap things up here is, of the heroes released so far, or I guess not released so far, is who are you most looking forward to besides Grux?
Kalari.
Yeah. Kalari. Why
Kalari.
do you say Kalari?
I say Kalari because I want to see her old back.
Yeah.
I want to see her old back. I used to play a lot of Kalari. I used to play a lot of Kalari. My second most played character in Legacy behind Grux was Kalari. When Sevarog came out, I played a lot of Sevarog, and he joined my top 3, which was Grux, Sevarog, Kalari. So, like, I played a lot of Kalari. I love Kalari, and I just never really... once they reworked her, I guess she was all right in the off lane. I love playing her in the jungle. I always thought that she was a jungler because of her old ultimate coming out of nowhere, and you just gank the hell out of them. Because you're invisible, you just get next to them, and then they just blow up if they don't have wards, right? They don't know you're there. So... I loved Kalari, and I think if they can really make her more of a jungler, how I feel like she should have been, a jungle assassin, which is usually how assassins are played, then I think that she can be really, really, really viable again if they balance her correctly. And so that's why I'm really excited to see what they end up doing with Kalari and her numbers and her abilities. Because, dude, there were some crazy highlight clips with Kalari's. Sheesh. Like, you can look at my old Kalari guide video, and, man, like, it was awesome. You had a lot of high kill games if you knew how to play Kalari.
Yeah, that was the big thing, is like once you got her kit down and once you understood her mechanics and when to engage, when to know to just, get the heck out of here, get out and like save yourself kind of thing. Yeah, it was a total game changer. Definitely a learning curve with her, but it's a much rewarded learning curve.
Very high skill ceiling with her.
Exactly.
On the flip side of that, are there any heroes that you're not really that excited to come back?
Wukong.
I think that's kind of a general.
Wukong. I'm fine if they bring him back. I just don't want him to have like 7 abilities.
Agreed. His ultimate was.
I think terrible. if they just tune him down just a little bit, then he'll be fine. I just a lot of people don't want to see Morrigash back. Morrigash was definitely annoying, especially in the lower elos, because she didn't take too much skill to play. She had a lot of lock-on abilities. Her one AoE had a pretty large radius, so it was pretty easy to land. She was a very, very noob-friendly hero, and so you saw her a lot in lower elos, and I know a lot of lower elo players complain about her. I think Morrigash was definitely counterable as you went up into higher elo. More and more players realized how to work around her. Her range was really bad in comparison to the other casters in the mid lane, so she could get outranged by literally anybody, Gideon, Howitzer, Gadget, whatever. I don't think Morrigash was as bad as people remember her being, as evil as people remember her being. But then again, if they do bring her back, then they can balance her. That's the job of the testers. That's the job of the competitive community, is we'll play her. We'll see if she's meta. We'll see if she's not meta. They'll look at the data, see the ban rates, see the pick rates, all that stuff, and make decisions from there. But honestly, I have nothing against Morrigash as a character when it comes to her kit, like as a basic level. I just think that Epic Games added Wukong into the game simply as a all MOBAs have a Wukong in their game type of thing. Exactly. And it didn't make sense to me in the Paragon universe either. Like, they try to make it like he was Feng Mao's apprentice or something. And I don't know. I'm okay if they have a staff fighting champion that isn't Wukong. I just don't know about the whole clone thing like every Wukong champion has. I'm just not sure. I just think that you could have made a better character that made more sense in the Paragon universe, that didn't seem so forced, and obviously didn't seem so overpowered in so many different situations.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that was my initial reaction when they like released like the teaser for like the new heroes Wukong. I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah.
every MOBA, there's always a Wukong.
Right.
It just felt so pandering.
It's I feel like it appeals to the Asian population, because I think that's a very
Absolutely.
popular character in a lot of Asian media and video games and stuff.
Well, Shinbi was another one too. Don't a lot of MOBAs have kind of that K-pop
Yeah, there's the
style?
K-pop star. I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, you got like
Or they have skins that are K-pop. I mean, I didn't mind.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind Shinbi at all. I kind of like Shinbi.
No, I like Shinbi too. Again, similar to Clary, once you kind of understood that
oh yeah,
how to play her and her combos.
yeah, it's just that
It's just
style you see is kind of pandering towards that audience. that you see
Yeah.
in a lot of MOBAs.
What I mean by I don't mind Shinbi is I don't mind her kit. I don't mind the way she plays. Maybe that's what, because like her lore was also kind of weird. And then again, like when it comes to lore, you can create the only you can make the only thing that makes sense, or you can make nothing that makes sense. When it comes to lore, you can be the guy who writes the story. So you really can't be like, well, she didn't really make sense in the lore because, well, they made the lore and they kind of made it like, oh yeah, there's K-pop concerts on Omida. What about it, huh? Like, why they can't have K-pop concerts in other universes? So it's like, yeah,
I'm actually really excited to see what Strange Matter Studios does with the lore.
Yeah, should be cool. I wanna know more about the Fault, right? The whole reason why the name of the game is that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of brought it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Omni did.
Nothing's very official,
no,
but
no, no.
yeah, like they mentioned to us that they believe it's just the two universes colliding, and that's where the fault is created.
Yep. Yeah. So be interesting to see who they either bring on or how they kind of come up with all that. But
yeah,
either way, I know both of us are excited for
just
Fault.
everything in general.
Everything in general. True. Especially even doing this too and watching where we grow out of this, not out of it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
From where we are now, growing out of where we are now.
I think the reason also why I said I don't mind Shinbi is because I was thinking about her relationship to Kwang and how she's, his sister. And then I was also thinking about Yin and that whole thing. So I was trying to, maybe she could still be his sister, just not a K-pop star. I don't know. She was just a really fun character. Like, I know she doesn't fit as well in the universe, but she's just, I don't know, man. I really liked Shinbi. I thought she was fun. She wasn't necessarily quote unquote meta, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the weeb in me talking. Strong. Maybe that's why I liked Shinbi. I don't know. Cute little K-pop girl, whatever. Who is 18, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Uh-oh. Monka TOS. Uh-oh.
I know that there's, speaking of that last little blurb there, I know there's definitely a Twitch, a guy that follows a lot of the Fault people, and his screen name is 16-year-old Shinbi.
Oh no.
And it just needs to be left there. We're going to move on from, but yeah.
Well, guys, it was nice knowing you.
TOS is getting both of us. But anyway, so to kind of wrap all this up, everything all together, content creation. I've noticed recently that you've kind of done a rebranding of sort from your old stuff. So going into 2020, what are your big goals for the stream and also for your YouTube channel?
Whew, great question. My goals fall hand in hand with that of Strange Matter Studios and Fault. I don't think it takes a genius to notice how closely tied my channel is to Paragon and the post-Paragon projects. I don't think it takes a genius to realize how much I loved Paragon and how much I enjoy being a part of everything Strange Matter Studios does and all these other post-Paragon project games are doing as well. I'm just really happy to be here. I'm really excited to be kind of one of the quote-unquote, objectively speaking, larger voices when it comes to this game as it is being developed. And I really hope that, as just to be very honest with my audience, to be very honest with everyone who's listening to this podcast still, even after an hour into it. Wow, you guys are animals. I want to be absolutely honest and say that you know, if Fault does well on their launch in early access May 8th, I'm really banking on that they do, because a lot of my content will be surrounding that. My content will definitely benefit if Fault benefits, and my content will definitely suffer if Fault suffers. And
we feel
we're in
you
the
there.
same boat.
I
We
wish,
feel
I,
there.
I
Literally
wish,
in our name.
I wish it wasn't that way, because what I'm trying to do, and you asked me this question about my channel, so I'll answer it, is with this channel rebrand, with everything I'm trying to do in 2020 moving forward, I'm trying to make the channel more about me and not just, hey, I'm this guy who plays Paragon, or I'm this guy who plays Fault. This is Britik. This is what Britik is, right? Like, I might be playing Paragon, and that's not the game that we all love, but I want to be that personality that, you know, maybe not everyone's going to like, not everyone's going to stick around for just Britik. Most people are just going to stick around for Fault only, and they don't really care who's playing it. They just want to see the coolest kills or the coolest plays or the sickest content. But at the end of the day, my goal is to just keep growing my brand as an individual, so that one day, if I have to stray away from Fault, or if something happens and I take a completely different direction with the channel, I do have that loyal fan base that just likes Britik for Britik and nothing else, and they just want to see what Britik does next. And I think that's the most important thing in general when you're building a brand, is to separate yourself from anything else, because when you're attached to something like Paragon, for example, that something might be gone, and then your whole channel is in shambles. So
you're saying we shouldn't name the podcast the FaultCast?
You better be fairly confident that Fault will stick around if you name yourself FaultCast and you plan on having this go somewhere. And if it doesn't go somewhere, well, then that's, you know, you live and you learn, and you take that as another notch in your belt, and you just keep going. So, you know, that's just how life works sometimes.
Britik, you mentioned earlier, and if you just want to wrap up with like again, kind of a tidbit on what is any advice you have for anyone looking to get into content creation, i.e. Twitch or YouTube?
Sure. First thing, a couple of these are really obvious and straightforward, but they have to be said, and I think every single person says this when they're asked this question. If you're going to make content, if you're going to create content of some sort, whether it's streaming, YouTubing, whether you're just making TikTok videos, whatever, it has to be high quality. It has to be 1080p, HD, 60 frames per second, because nobody's going to watch you record anything with your potato, okay? You have to make sure that it's rendered properly. You got to make sure you have a good microphone, because nowadays, like I said, there's so many people YouTubing, there's so many people streaming, and the number increases every single day by the minute. And you need to just be better than everyone else. So if you have better equipment, better quality, you are already a giant step ahead of everybody who's just using the stream feature on their PlayStations that's built into the controller, right? So there's that. That's the first and most obvious one, of course. The second one that's also pretty obvious is just be consistent. Stick to a schedule. Communicate with your community a lot. Like, if you're going to take a break, say when you're going to take a break. And just keep it rolling, be consistent, because the internet moves a million times faster than the real world, okay? So one day on YouTube is like 1 week in real life time, okay? So if you don't upload for a week on YouTube, you are getting close to irrelevancy at that point already. And it's kind of scary to think about that, but you really do have to move fast. So that's another thing, is you just have to be consistent, and you have to have a schedule, at least when it comes to streaming. When it comes to YouTube videos, you don't really necessarily have to have a set schedule. It might help you as a person just to be like, okay, now I got to make a video. But for me, it helps to naturally not have a schedule when I'm making YouTube videos, because when I have a schedule, it kind of feels like a job, and then I feel uninspired to make videos. I only want to make videos if I'm going to enjoy making them. And when I don't have a schedule and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make a video today, that works better for me. But I also don't take 3-week breaks in between making videos when I'm trying to be consistent and trying to consistently upload. So if I upload a video on Friday, that doesn't mean my next video is going to be exactly a week from then. It might be 4 days from then. It might be 5 days from then. I don't know. That's what I mean by the fact that I don't have a schedule personally. But if that helps you, then that helps you. And the number 3 thing that I think doesn't get talked about too much, okay? Thing that doesn't get talked about too much is if you're a streamer, right? If you just want to be a streamer, you, at this day and age, you cannot be a streamer and not make YouTube content, and not make Twitter content, and not make content on other platforms, because because the discoverability on Twitch is non-existent. Like, you're not just going to sit there and stream for 60 hours a week and pull viewers and keep those viewers and gain in numbers, gain in followers, gain in subscribers. That's just not how it works, okay? Because nobody's going to look for the bottom of the page in those directories, especially if you're playing a saturated game, like League of Legends, for example. If you're playing a non-saturated game, that's great. Maybe people will find you because there's only 8 streams of it, so they'll see you on the front page of that game's directory, but there's only 8 people streaming it because the game only has a total of like 200 views on Twitch, and that doesn't work too well either. So essentially, you have to find that happy balance between it, and you have to make that other content on those other websites and bring those viewers into your streams. You bring those viewers from your YouTube channel. You say, hey guys, I'm streaming. Here's my stream schedule. This is where I got the gameplay from. I got it from the stream. If you guys want to hang out and get exclusive content that's only found on stream, blah, 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 stuff like that, whatever your spiel is, and you bring them over to your stream, okay? So if you're just trying to sit there and stream for 60 hours a week, my recommendation to you is stream less, okay? My official streaming schedule is not 5 days a week. It's only 3 days a week. And it's only for a couple hours during those weeks, because all the other time when I'm not busy with school and work, obviously, if I were to do it full time, I would spend that making videos, being active on other socials, making TikTok videos, making Facebook groups, literally just spreading yourself everywhere. You really just have to whore yourself out. There's no other way to say it. You just have to be everywhere, get your grubby mitts on every single thing, and really get your face out there, get your brand out there, and be consistent with what you want your brand to stand for across all your platforms. Have the same logo across all your platforms. Have the same catchphrases. Have the same slogans, everything across the platforms. If you're in the middle of a revamp, that might be a little difficult, as I am in the middle of one, so to speak. Not every single thing about my stream has been completely revamped, but for the most part, with the new logo, with the new banner that you alluded to earlier, that has been changed. So you just have to be consistent. And those are the top 3 things that I would advise for anyone trying to get into the space right now. And it just gets more and more saturated every day. And just be yourself. Actually, that is the most important one, is just be yourself. Don't try to copy what other people do too much, because if you try to copy somebody else, they're going to be better at what they're doing than you will ever be at what they're doing, okay? Because they're them and you're you. So find something that makes you unique as a person and really emphasize that in your content and really drive that point home and just be the best you that you can possibly be. And if that means you just have to be weird and make anime jokes all day, then be weird and make anime jokes all day, because there is an audience for that. There are people who will like that. Find your niche, fit into it, and grow it from there. And then after that, you can start expanding it. So, yeah, that's what you got to do. Yep.
Awesome. Well, for everyone listening, I hope they wrote that down.
Yes.
At the very least, go back, listen to it again, write it down that time. So, I mean, but no, I wholeheartedly agree with a lot of, everything that you said there, especially with us in this space. This is now,
I'm taking 10. A lot of your advice right now, too.
Yeah, this is episode 10 for us. So, and especially going back to the gear, to the gear standpoint too, is our first 3 episodes were with USB microphones, because that's just what everybody buys, a Blue Yeti, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what we had. And after about 3 episodes, I'm like, we can make this better.
We got to step this up.
Yeah, when we were using free audio software, doing the best we can with it. And now we have, we're on XLR Rode microphones. We got a soundboard. We're using Audition. Like it's crazy to see.
That's my next step. I need to get it. I need to get a Go LX XLR. You guys got to teach me how to use a soundboard.
We have
a Rode Podcaster Pro or something, whatever that is.
Something. You guys are doing great.
It's a little, it's a little bit more unique for us. Originally, I was looking at the XLRs, but it only has 1 mic port, so I'm like, that doesn't work for us because there's 2 of us.
We record in the same room, so
right. So
that's great.
But yeah, I think with that being said, we're at $1:20, hour 20. Look at that. I think with that being said, we're probably going to close things up here. So last and most importantly, not least, we're going to let you plug away here. Let you kind of talk about where you can be found, where people can follow you at, stream schedule, whatever you want.
And hopefully some of our FaultCast listeners can go check you out at these locations. And again, Britik, thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate all the great advice you gave us, and it's been a pleasure talking to you. And hope to have you
Yeah,
on the show
no, of
again.
course. I would
Yeah.
love to come on your podcast again. No, this was a great time. This was lots of fun. People can find me in a lot of different places. YouTube, Twitch, everywhere the same. It's BritikHD, Twitter, Instagram, literally everywhere except for TikTok. I haven't made a TikTok yet. Actually, I have made a TikTok. I haven't posted any comment or content on TikTok yet.
It's private.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I have an OnlyFans account, Patreon account.
Is it BritikHD on
Venmo.
Tinder as well?
Yeah, it's on Tinder. Yeah, I got Venmo. I got Cash App. You know, with the money
Vine.
sign Britik.
Yeah.
No,
PayPal,
Vine's
'cause
dead.
They can charge that back.
I do have PayPal. That's where the donations
There you
go.
go, that too.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, you can find me BritikHD everywhere. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Those are my top 3 socials for real though. But yeah, that's about
right.
it.
Well, again, Britik, thank you again for stopping by. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast, and I hope the listeners and viewers have enjoyed.
Absolutely. Thank you.